This message is going to be for those of the 144 that are choosing leadership. And I'm going to share what I know, and I'm also going to share a very transparent story. And so those that are choosing leadership are going to go through a 1-year initiation. And it's intended to have you so solid in who you are and what you're here for. And so, first of all, knowing who you're serving, what you're serving, and being very clear with that, and stating the declarations to that if you're ready for it. I know my journey, I made some very strong declarations to God, Source Creator, on what I was here for. And anything that wasn't in alignment, and anything that is, I have to choose it. And that's between me and God, between me and Source, me and Creator. And my path here. And so I say that if that's not your choosing, then this message isn't going to be for you. And it's going to have you be so solid. Otherwise, we're going to go through initiations to learn it. And the piece that I wanted to share too, because I recently did this and I had to do a review over my experience. And we have to be in so much integrity and so much in our truth that it's unwavering. And the moment that we step into old patterns, whether it's childhood, whether we abandon ourselves, whether we deny our messages, our intuition, our truth, our messages from God, when we hide, when we want to hide, man, I'm putting into words. The moment we dip into these other patterns where we are not in our truth, when we are not in the utmost integrity of ourselves, also with our messages, what our guidance is, and also what with others. Because what we're doing for ourselves, when we're doing for ourselves and what's best, we're doing what's best for the greater whole. And so I'll just share a little bit of my experience. And another piece to this is radical accountability to ourselves, radical honesty with ourselves, radical... I don't know if you're going to hear me because of the noise. So let me just roll up the window real quick. Radical responsibility for our actions, or lack of, or our indecisions on our path. Like, that is going to get you so much further. It's not about other individuals in our experience. It's about us. And it is when we're in union with other individuals in our experience. But ultimately, if we're not communicating our truth, if we're not listening, we can set ourselves up into massive separation, because we're choosing to separate from self, and rather than choosing wholeness. And so just sharing about my experience or recent initiation, so you have the awareness in your journey where you might be called to be making decisions or closing up, because what we can do is drill holes in our own boat and let the water in. And so for me, stepped into an old pattern of separation. Yesterday, the guidance was to not go on social media, and I needed to look at life. And where I stepped out of integrity in my own experience with family, with friends, with people I'm working with, and what an initiation. Because when we're not listening to our truth, when we're not acting on it, if you are mentally and you've done a level of purification, we can set ourselves into massive separation, which causes confusion. And you're looking around and you're going, why is everything not making sense? And so what I did, I actually pulled myself off of any timeline, which is a safety mechanism to an extent. But it was because I was sitting in an indecision and not making a choice on the path that I was taking on a personal level. And where I allowed patterns with family, friendships, not communicating, not being honest, waiting for individuals that ultimately we're not going to choose the same path. And not everybody's going to choose our path. And I had to realize that even looking in my experience, I can't be putting everybody else's needs before what I know, because they're not choosing the same path and they're not going to understand. They are not going to get the same messages. They're getting initiated from their experience, and that's beautiful. But also understanding that when you are choosing, it requires a level of devotion. Devotion to God, devotion to your path, a devotion to your self-mastery, and how defaulting into patterns that are not true for us is not ultimately serving the highest and greatest good. And so I share all this because many are going to go through these initiations right now to see how solid you are in your truth, to see how solid you are in yourself. And it's all beautiful lessons being presented to strengthen you, to see where you're stepping off, to see where there's refinements in your experience and where we need to listen. And when we're not listening to our truth, we're not listening to God and the messages that have been given. And so I share this to provide the awareness, and that we're all going through the initiations. And some questions that you can ask yourself is, what I'm doing of the highest contribution? Is it serving the highest expression? Am I serving God, Source Creator? And how to realign ourselves to our Sacred Heart's path, our truth, and reestablish ourselves in that is so pivotal and important. And so that message needed to be shared with transparency, because I also am moving through this, and I'm moving through this to share this with you so that you may have clarity also for those that are meant to listen to this. And radical integrity, radical self-truth, radical responsibility for our path and what we're creating. And are we creating from separation because we're going to learn from that? Or are we choosing to choose in wholeness? Wholeness of ourselves, wholeness of the experience, in union with life. And I think I'm at the time limit. So my intention is that this meets the individuals that are meant to hear it most. And with that, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful souls, I'm sending everybody so much love.